Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of EverUpwardShow, which is the NYXL New York Excelsior Overwatch League fan show. I'm your host, Blevins, and we've got a hype, if nothing else, show for you today. I mean, let's just let it out. Congrats to New York Excelsior for being the Stage 2 champions, beating out Philly in the finals, which I mean, I'm going to talk about the whole week of playing for NYXL and that whole story later on in the show, so I won't get too much into it, but I am pumped. I've been pumped for a day now, just watching the games live is just, man, I mean, I wasn't there, but I was watching them live, not watching a VOD. Absolutely amazing. But for those of you who are new to the show, first off, thanks for stopping by. This is the number one place to get your weekly fix for NYXL content. Outside of the actual NYXL distribution, I go around and collect all the stuff, tell you what comes from NYXL. Also, I'll tell you what is coming from the community, give you the results, and analyze those as well. And of course, EverUpwardShow is a High Noon production. You can check out everything that we do at High Noon Productions over at highnoonpodcast.com. But enough of me blathering on about nothing. Let's talk about what we got from NYXL this week. We're keeping up, and I think this might actually round out the Origins videos. We got the head coach for the NYXL, Pavane. We got his Origin video. It was another good one. I mean, those Origin videos, I've said it 1,000 times now, but they have an amazing video quality and production, and they give a lot of insight into the kind of the real lives of the players and coaching staff. So definitely take a look at that. We also got the NYXL Unleashed for Stage 2 Week 4, which is basically the behind the scenes for the stage. The first half, the match against Seoul, followed Meko, and Meko speaks pretty great English, or at least serviceable English. So good on him. But also he talked about his practice schedule before game day or before game is 8 hours of deathmatch. 8 hours of deathmatch. So if you think that you're practicing enough to be in the Overwatch League, think about that as a metric just for his warm-up before the match. So when we're seeing him do all these crazy things, this is after 8 hours of deathmatch practice every single time. So that was a great video. There's some good quotes in there from Pavane as well. They kind of followed him through the second match, which was the Shanghai Dragon. So definitely check that one out. We also got an interview with Jonak. It was a one-on-one interview, or I mean, I guess technically the translator was there. But a one-on-one interview. That one was courtesy of Action Esports. And guys, again, I have links to all of these videos and everything that I talk about down in the description, so don't worry about going and searching these things. It's all going to be down below. And last new thing here, and then I'll talk about another event that I mentioned last week. Last thing, we had Pine actually come out and talk about why he kind of give a little bit of a background as to why he missed the stage. I was harsh on him the last couple of weeks on the shows for not being in the stage and not playing. He gives a little bit of a background and insight to it, and I feel bad for calling him out as much as I did, so I apologize for that. But I mean, he goes into greater detail about some of the issues he's going through and all that, and the silver lining here and the light at the end of the tunnel here is that he's preparing now. He took some time off. He's preparing now to be ready to play in Stage 3, which is awesome. I want him back in the lineup as soon as he's ready, and I think everyone does. Even if you're not necessarily the biggest NYXL fan, he's a treat to watch as an Overwatch player. So everyone, I think, is rooting for Pine to come back and be at 100%. So good on him. And the last thing is I just wanted to remind everyone that April 2nd, so a week from today, which is Monday, so 1 week from the airing or the recording of this episode, is that NYXL meetup in New York City. Again, I have the link down below, but I'm unfortunately not going to be able to make it, just because of I crunched the numbers. It's going to end up being like $200 or $300 just to go for a day, essentially. And as much as I would absolutely love to, not going to be able to swing that. But maybe the next time that they come up, I'll be able to have I'll be able to plan more of a trip around it. But I'm going to PAX East later that week, so I'm not going to be able to. I just can't justify spending the extra money, unfortunately. But if you guys are in the New York City area, or even if you're not and you want to go, it is April 2nd, 5:40 EST is the signings, 7:10 is the start of the Phillies versus Mets game. So coincidentally enough, a baseball rematch of the Stage 2 finals here, Philadelphia versus New York. The tickets for that are $19, which is for a professional baseball game, that's real cheap. So even if you just want to go to the game, definitely worth it. Again, links down below. Make sure you check that out. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me those. Moving on, we've got some community stuff here. So I talked last week about the ESPN.com, March Madness esports voting event, which both Arc and Pine were in. Unfortunately, both of them got eked out by other esports professionals. Honestly, it was extremely close. There was Arc lost to, I believe, one of the best Melee players in the world. And I didn't see who Pine lost to, but I did see the numbers. It was like 46-54 and like 53-47, like very, very close. So, shout outs to them for getting this many votes, and really only having been, real main stage esports professionals for, not that long. I mean, even on LW Blue and Apex, that was arguably a main stage event, but really not in the spotlight until Overwatch League, which has only been going on for a couple of months. So huge shout outs to them for doing as well as they did. I know they were both actually winning for quite some time, but unfortunately they are out. They're both officially out. But one thing left to note about that is that there are still Overwatch League players that are in, and some of which are winning. I believe Surefour's in there, Fissure, Baby Bay, they're all still in there. So even though our NYXL players can't win, we can help the Overwatch League get there, so definitely go and vote on them. Last couple of things here from the community is we got Five Deadly Venoms crew, which if you're unfamiliar, get out from under a rock. But Five Deadly Venoms is the group that organizes all the viewing parties in New York City. At the Waypoint Cafe. I've got links down below to them as well. They caught the basically the instant the build up to NYXL winning the championship. They got it on video. It's just one of those crazy things when you see people, cheering for something so crazily, and it's such a build up too, with the disappointment in stage 1 and all that. It was just a really great moment to capture. I've got the link to the tweet there. And then also overwatchleague.com did a story on the Five Deadly Venoms crew. Again, I've got the link to that as well. Definitely interesting, and it's really great. The person who runs it, Great Root Bear, he's a Around the Payload alumni, which is one of High Noon Podcast's other shows. We've had him on. He's great. He does his own stream as well. He's just a all-around great guy. A Canadian transplant in New York City, which is always awesome because I'm from Buffalo, and Buffalo's kind of like basically Canada. So I always feel a connection with Canadians. But overall, Five Deadly Venoms crew, Great Root Bear, really great people. If you're in the New York City area, you're definitely going to want to check out, you're definitely going to want to go to one of the viewing parties. I can't give out any details right now, but there are some events. I can say that there are some events some even more special events on the horizon with them, and that's as much as I can say about that. And the last thing here is the kind of the spread and growth, pun intended, of the Jonak Jacked or Joe Jacked or whatever, Jonah Jacked meme, where I think the original picture was that picture of Mickey flexing, and then next to it is Jonak's face, Jonak's head photoshopped on like a weightlifter dude, like super jacked. Love the meme. It's hilarious. It's also apt just because he's so good as Zenyatta. And then also after the finals, which I will talk about in just a little bit, we now have the Libero jacked meme, and then I created a Libero, like Yu-Gi-Oh meme. It's kind of dumb, but I mean, Libero, King of Games, Yu-Gi-Oh, King of Games. I think it works. It's also, I mean, it's just true. Whether the meme is funny or not, it's just true, because Libero really did pop off. But that's all I've got from the community this time, guys. If you do have community submissions or questions or anything like that, get them over to me. Head over to the High Noon Podcast Discord, discord.me/High Noon Podcast, and go over to the EverUpwardShow text channel. Throw them in there. I draw from that first. I draw from the official NYXL subreddit. I draw from the NYXL Twitter and what they retweet as well. I don't go over everything because there's literally dozens of pieces of art and content done, and I absolutely miss stuff. So let me know what you'd like to see, and ship anything that you definitely want to see spotlighted over to me. I will be sure to talk about it. But moving on, talk a little bit about XL2. I talked last week about how their matchup is against Grizzly Gaming. They haven't actually played that yet. They're playing tomorrow against Grizzly Gaming, so I will the next episode be talking about how XL2 is doing. But the big piece of news for XL2 is that they signed Flower officially. This is one that people were wondering from the beginning. It was basically a foregone conclusion that Flower was going to be on XL2, and then XL2 announced their roster and Flower wasn't on it. So it was kind of like, so is he just not? And there was rumors of Flower being an NYXL employee or under contract with them, but not in Contenders and all this other stuff. I don't know the exact story, and I mean that honestly. I've specifically not delved too deep with my contacts in on that, because I don't necessarily want to. You know, they are keeping things secret for a reason, and I'm trusting in the team here. So, I mean, maybe that's a job for another reporter for sure. It's not me that's going to be doing that, but maybe I can get some comments on it at some point. I would definitely like to talk more about NYXL or XL2 Academy roster. But I mean, Flower is going to be a big piece to that. I mean, they're 1-1 right now. I lost a big one to the Gladiator Legion, which is really a great team. And I mean, Flower is, you know, ever since the World Cup, everyone has been speaking the praises of Flower about being, you know, basically the best player in the world, or one of the best players in the world. I have high hopes for him, but I am honestly, I don't think he's going to be. I don't necessarily know where he fits in the NYXL roster, if that is his goal here. So it'll be interesting to see what Flower ends up doing, both in Contenders and in the Overwatch League, because he's certainly, now that he's on a Contenders team, doesn't matter if it's XL2 or Gladiator Legion or anything, he is now technically an open a free agent player for Overwatch League. Once he becomes old enough, of course, he's not old enough to play in the Overwatch League yet. But once you know, he turns 18, which won't be till next season, or he won't be eligible until next season, he's certainly going to be one of the top prospects to get picked up either by a current team or perhaps an expansion team in Season 2. So it'll be interesting to see, if he stays in if he stays in New York in Overwatch League, and if so, where does he fit in the roster? I'm going to leave that conversation to a later episode when we actually have more details on it. But for now, you can definitely check him out whenever the XL2 Academy is playing. I'm assuming that he's playing this week against the Grizzlies, and I'm not sure. Definitely give you updates on that. So let's move on and let's just talk about the week here. Normally, so I'll just say this now. Normally, I would be talking about the preview for next week, but we don't have that. The Overwatch League is off. I guess I can talk about who we're playing. We are playing against Florida Mayhem and London Spitfire at the beginning of Stage 1. I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm probably not going to record next week either, just because it's the week off. I might record. Actually, I'll probably record. Yeah. Next week is going to be off, and then the week that Overwatch League comes back, we'll record another episode, and then I'll talk about the preview on that episode. It's possible that the episodes might get jumbled up. It's really going to depend on how much content comes out from NY, but we will see, and we'll wait for that though. But last week's results, we played against first match was against the Dallas Fuel, and that was a 3-2 victory from us. And I've got to admit here, I was sweating it. Dallas kind of came out of nowhere. They had Seagull on Diva. They had Mickey on main tank. They ran Rascal, Effect, Chips and Custa. They ran a lineup that they'd never run before. Excuse me. And their players seemed to kind of gel a little bit better together than they normally had. So it was definitely I've got to say, credit where credit's due. It was definitely an impressive performance by Dallas. We were able to eke it out in the end, though. But Dallas looked really, really good, more so than NY looking bad. So definitely keep an eye on Dallas. But we were able to eke that one out, which is nice. Getting a loss there to Dallas would have been devastating for a number of reasons. I mean, just from a morale standpoint, losing to Dallas is not a great spot to be in right now, considering how poorly they've been doing of late. And then also, it would have put us down. I mean, winning there secured us into the playoffs. Losing there led us down a path where we were potentially not able to make the Stage 2 playoffs, and certainly put us in a worse spot for the number 1 seed. So was nice to be able to pull that win out there, even if it was by the skin of our teeth. And again, I mean, I talked about this last week. Don't underestimate a team just because they've been playing poorly. I mean, I'm sure that many teams have underestimated the Florida Mayhem. They've underestimated they're underestimating Shanghai Dragons. They underestimated LA Gladiators, and I mean, with the exception of the Dragons, most of these teams have come out and gotten wins off of teams that they were definitely not favored against. NYXL doesn't seem like it seems like the coaching staff with Pavane, especially after seeing this Origins video, Pavane has the mentality of, we're going to take each map as seriously as we can. We're going to do as much as we can to prepare for the matches and treat each match like it matters just as much as the next, which was good. And then, hats off to Dallas here for putting up a really great performance. Was not good enough to take us down, though, which was obviously preferable for me. Moving on, we had the Valiant, and the last match for us in the regular season, or the regular stage, I suppose is what it would be called. It was a pretty quick and easy 4-0. Really not much to talk about here on the NYXL side. Everything was pretty standard. It's just Valiant is in shambles right now. NYXL, best team in the league. Really kind of what was to be expected. I think there's more to talk about in terms of Valiant, but this is not the show for the LA Valiant, so I'm not going to go too far into that. But that did secure our number 1 seed in the playoffs, and leads us into the first seed for the stage playoffs, which obviously automatically puts us into the finals, where we had to face Philly. One thing I'll note here is that very few people were expecting the match to be against Philly. New York Excelsior included in that conversation. Ark had mentioned after the match that they had prepared a lot for London. I think that was really kind of the favorite for the rematch. That was kind of what a lot of people wanted to see. I personally was very happy to see Philly. I always want to see a championship brought back to the East Coast. So it's nice that we kind of had the guaranteed East Coast victory, even if Philly would have won. And let me tell you, if you thought I was sweating during the Dallas match, let me tell you I was sweating during this one. Philly looked so good against London. And Snillo, my God, Snillo just was unreal against London, and then came out and was unreal against New York. And not to mention that Philly was a team that has already beaten New York. They're one of the only two teams in the regular season to have beaten New York. So if anyone has the opportunity to do it in the finals, it was Philadelphia here. But of course, we did end up getting the reverse sweep. Ark talked about it after the match as well. Philadelphia looked completely different than they did the first in stage one when they played them. They now have access to Snillo. They have access to EQO, who wasn't there. They have access to new Fraggy, who's not just going in and diving and dying instantly. He's actually playing more conservatively and more passively at times when it calls for it. Not always, though. So he's still the same old Fraggy. Don't worry. He's still going to be smashing heads with hammers and jumping on people with Winston. But now he's actually being able to get in and get out and actually create more space and do more work as those heroes. So Ark had mentioned that specifically. Snillo and Fraggy were kind of the reasons that Philadelphia gave them reason for pause. It's also, you plan for hours and hours and hours for London. You've got game strat specifically for London, the maps that you're going to be playing against London, and then you play against a team that plays nothing like London, and you have to basically go on instincts here and skill. And they talked. Mr. X and Uber talked about it during the cast. Philadelphia are scrappers. They're going to be able to take many people one-on-one in skill. You're going to be able to create space with your EQOs, your Snillos, your Carpes. They're going to be able to make those plays and really kind of create that difference here. Be a difference maker for Philadelphia, and it looked like that was the case for the first two maps, and then of course we pulled off the reverse sweep. Really, everyone contributed. Obviously, there was the I call them the tank twins, even though they don't look anything like each other. They just both play that main tank role. Janice and Mono both played well. Meko played well. Jonak was, of course, amazing on Zenyatta, and then SPB was amazing on Tracer. But honestly, they crowned him the MVP of the match, and I couldn't agree more. Libero just popped off in those matches that NYXL won. On Widow, on Genji, on Pharah, on I believe he played some Hanzo as well. Like Libero, I got to tell you a story here. I'll tell you a story here from the World Cup. So I'm at the World Cup, and I'm sitting with Bare Hands, who's the director of player personnel for NYXL. And of course, many of the NYXL players, or much of the South Korean team for the World Cup were NYXL players. So everyone's talking about Flower. Everyone, since that event, everyone's talked about Flower, and Flower this, Flower that, best Widow in the world. He's gonna, take Overwatch League by storm, yada yada yada. I go, man, Bare Hands, how does it feel to know that you're gonna have access to Flower here? And he goes, Flower, man, yeah, Flower is good, but have you seen Libero? This is months ago. This is at the World Cup. I go, Libero? No. He's like, dude, don't sleep on Libero. You think Flower is good? Libero's just as good, and he's just as good on 10 heroes. So, we've seen that in We've seen that in patches here and there. Libero's basically been the jack of all trades, master of none. He's the third best player on every single hero in the game, but he flexed in this match, and I mean his muscles, not necessarily his hero pool here. He came out and really just carried, and obviously by carry I mean he opened up space, which allowed the rest of the amazing NYXL team to fill in the gaps and really perform there. But Libero, man, when you're winning 1v1 Widow duels against Carpe, you've got something there. So Libero really kind of securing his spot there. Huge shout outs to him there. I don't think many other players in the league are able to do what he can, and certainly not under the amount of pressure that he, of course, was under in that championship match. So all around, if you haven't seen it yet, I mean, I'm sorry for spoiling it, but go watch that match. It was great from start to finish, and definitely one that we're going to be talking about for quite some time. So that is actually going to be it for the episode, guys. I know this one was a little bit of a shorter one. We're right around the half-hour mark. Honestly, this is kind of where I want to be. I think this is a pretty good length for an episode, maybe a little bit more, but a lot of what the episode's going to be about is what you guys bring in. So all of the links and stuff that you can contact me are going to be down below, but make sure if you have anything that you want to see, let me know there. I've talked about where you can do it previously, but that is going to be it, guys. Next week I'm off for this show, at least no episode, and then once Overwatch League comes back for Stage 3, I will be back right here at EverUpwardShow. And so guys, enjoy your week. Enjoy bask in the glory of the NYXL Stage 2 Championship. And if you're going to be in New York for the meet and greet, A, I'm jealous. B, have fun. And take pictures and send them to me, or ask them questions. Get some stuff, and I will definitely talk about it on the show. But that is going to be it, guys. Thank you for listening, and be ever upward. Bye-bye.